What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Plus Added Time here on Project Dits. As always and every week, my name is Nathan, but is your name still Darragh?
It is. Into December, crept over the line. It's gone to goal line technology, and I think we're just across the line into, the Christmas spirit.
Oh, I thought you were talking about whether this podcast is getting cancelled.
Oh, no, not yet. I'll, when I get my way, it finally will.
Finally. Will we reach double digits?
But, Christmas ads on the telly. Michael Bublé will soon be awoken from his hibernation. And nothing says Christmas more to me like muscle injuries due to fixture congestion.
That is
like that one.
just like clockwork every December, as if it's a fucking surprise that there's loads of games.
Jurgen Klopp work. I'm sure we'll get onto that at some point.
Oh, to Mr. Moni Klopp. He's not a happy man. But Darragh, have you? We've not in real time. For the listeners, it would have only been a week, but for me and Darragh, it's been nearly 2 weeks since we've done one of these because we are professionals. But that has got me wondering, because we didn't get to do it last week. What's been going on in that head of yours?
Oh, many things. I can't really say most of them out loud, but I've picked a few that can be said. We'll stick with football to start off with. You know how referees, people always go, people don't like them. There's not a lot of character behind them, except for Michael Dean, I guess. Mike Dean, not Michael Dean. But I was thinking, could you imagine if referees had to do press conferences pre and post match, just like players or managers?
Oh, you know what? And this is completely separate from your wonderful point. I hate, and this is across sports, the pre-match or whatever it's called in a different sport interview. No one has ever had anything interesting to say in that other than we're going to go out there and do our best.
Well, Nathan, let's talk about facts. I think that's the most famous press conference ever.
Yeah, I think that is. Rafa Benitez, for everything he's done in his career, that is his legacy.
That and just being a fat Spanish waiter, essentially.
Yeah, he won you guys the Champions League.
Much love. Oh no, I love Rafa Benitez. Sticking on the lines of referees. You know how in the NFL, when a referee makes a decision, he's mic'd up and he has to announce to the entire stadium why he's made the decision. I'd like to see that implemented.
I would love to. And later in this podcast, we're actually going to get on to me revolutionizing the way league football is played. And miking up the refs was one thing I had written down.
Ooh, I'm sure we'll touch on that later.
We will, but wonderful idea. And as always, a brilliant thought.
Thank you. Just one last football one we'll go with quickly. When remembering a death in football, obviously quite topical lately, Nathan, do you prefer the minute's silence or the minute's applause?
I think, now this is going to be a personal thing, but I would rather the applause or the Neil Warnock approach of just whatever the best reaction you've ever had. Like Neil Warnock famously said, was it when I die, is it Bristol City that he wants to have just booing him instead, or something?
I didn't know
like
it was a certain team. I thought it was everyone, but yeah. I know
he said he just wants the stadium to boo him again, like when he goes, which is wonderful, and I love Neil Warnock.
Have you seen the video of? It's like a side by side of Neil Warnock and Pep Guardiola,
and the tactics are like
yes.
identical.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such
incredible.
A good video.
Neil Warnock was always the manager who I thought, and still do, like to this day, if he was a little bit younger, perhaps could have done something maybe a little bit special if he got the reins of a big side, like a major side. He obviously managed some big clubs, but I'm talking like next level.
Yeah, I'd say
because tactically he's on point always.
He's one of those. He's just one of those classic championship promotion managers, isn't he?
Yeah, and he never quite got the opportunity to have a go of a proper Prem side.
Yeah, I swear he's always been old though. I can't remember him ever being under 70.
No, I don't think. I think him and Roy Hodgson as well.
That's the good one, yeah. But obviously, back to the the silence or applause. I can understand why when it's a stadium full of people, they don't tend to do the silence anymore because you always get that one person. There's always that one. But with the stadiums empty, and I was thinking the death of Ray Clemens when I first thought of it, but obviously Diego Maradona recently. I'd much rather a minute silence than applause. I think it's more respectful.
I think it is, and I think it is one of those. I think overall a minute silence is much more respectful than a minute applause. But some people just love things like that, don't they? I think I would rather an applause if I was a good footballer in a different universe. But like, but
And
yeah,
we'll wrap it up with one final one. We'll go a bit lighthearted. Got a bit deep there early, didn't we? In all Christmas movies, right? Santa, you always notice Santa never goes to the house next door when he's finished in the house. He'll always get back up on the roof into the sleigh and fly off. Doesn't seem very efficient.
he doesn't. And weirdly, at the time of recording yesterday evening, I watched Nightmare Before Christmas.
It was a Man
Uh,
United season, was it?
no. Oh, funny. No, it wasn't. It was the Tim Burton, really overrated movie.
I've never seen it.
Oh, I wouldn't bother. But but Jack Skeleton in that, even when he's pretending to be Father Christmas, he like Spider-Man. Well, not Spider-Man. He's like even more like a human spider because he's got such long limbs. Just like to random houses, and he's like done. And you're like, what?
You
You
know,
ain't done?
you think he'd go to like an estate and do the estate altogether, or just do like a terrace of houses. I don't think he's ever done that, which I've
Or
never understood.
or the Arthur Christmas route of just having a fantastically organized team of elves.
There you go. We need to get on to Nick and just see what he's playing at.
Good old Nick. But yeah, those were, as always, interesting thoughts that you've had.
Very interesting.
Look for very interesting and very topical as well. But let's get on to some football talk. I presume that's why the listeners are here. And we touched on him beforehand. We're going to start off with Liverpool, but not some of the good results they've had lately. It's more Mr. Angry Pants.
Yes.
Jurgen Klopp is not a happy man. He recently picked on Chris Wilder, sorry. Um, he has been moaning about not getting enough subs. He had a dig at Gary Neville. He had an argument with
Kelly.
Des Kelly. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
his name just escaped me. He's getting his Klopp is as wonderful a manager and as fun a man as he seems. He is getting his wires crossed with who's to blame for things, and he just seems to be angry at everything. And it's becoming a little bit funny.
It's obviously we're getting near to Christmas and good old Mr. Klopp has turned into Scrooge McKlopp overnight, which isn't a good thing to see. Obviously more injuries again. Allison injured, which is just great fun. James Milner, the man who's never been injured before in his life, even he's getting muscle injuries. So if James Milner's getting injuries, I don't know what's next.
There is a heavy fixture congestion this season, and it's been a very strange season overall. It took a while for anyone to get going. I'd argue most of the Premier League sides haven't got going in any sort of full flow outside of maybe Chelsea in the Champions League the other day where they just destroyed Sevilla. Looked great, but a lot of the sides seem to look good for one or two games and then just fall off a cliff for a couple as well.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff Klopp is like having a dig at Chris Wilder was just strange. Like, why are you picking on the guy who's bottom of the table, Klopp?
Well, I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed Klopp, with the something like Chris Wilder can have all the three subs he wants. At the end of the day, he's only got 1 point. I found that pretty funny. Bit below the belt.
I didn't think it. I thought it was weird. This Klopp has been going on about his 5 substitutions and then not being allowed in the Prem, but it is allowed in the Champions League. So in the Champions League this week, he only made 2, and one of them was in the 90th minute. You're like, well, do you want? You don't even want 3, Klopp.
Well, Nathan, I'm going to shock you here, right? I'm not Jurgen Klopp. I think I had you fooled. But I would say, in his defense, he's got, if you look at the bench of the Champions League team, Champions League
Yeah,
squad,
it's not.
pardon,
It what look, you do have a lot of injuries. Maybe
and it
that's
was
the
a very
players there.
important game. It was a very important game.
I don't. Yeah, it was nice to get qualification wrapped up, but at the same time,
Exactly.
in your final game, just you've got Mitchell and you got a tire company.
I, I'm telling you, I want to get Neil Critchley back from Blackpool and just get the under 12s out on the pitch that
Do
game.
it. Let's do it. Like,
We've seen
why
it
not?
before.
That's what we did in the Europa League last season. I think we had played an entire side where about the time only time Lee Grant got a game, and Jesse
He,
Lingard was captain.
ooh, ooh. Lee Grant must have aged that team a good bit, was he? He's probably like older than the rest of the team put together.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's what we, yeah. So you will do that in the final game, and all the power to you. But Klopp's just got to chill out a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
it is unfortunate, but injuries do happen in football. And I know you guys have had a lot, but is he perhaps more frustrated with the fact that the Liverpool players can't handle this congestion, whereas a side like Spurs under Jose, they don't really have anyone missing.
yeah, I know it's weird. You look. I remember when Klopp first took over in the October, and you're talking around the January time. His squad was just decimated with hamstring injuries, very strangely similar to this. And he blamed it on fixture congestion then. And
He
uh,
does it every December as if it's a surprise.
I know, yeah. And I reckon that if we go on to not win the league or something we don't win anything, people are going to look back at this and they're going to go, "This is the moment where he lost it." It's one of those things.
I think, but if anything, I'd say last season you had more fixture congestion because coming into December, not only you were still in the League Cup somehow, despite playing your under sevens. The FA Cup obviously hasn't started yet. The Premier League, you're absolutely still you. The only points you would have dropped at this point last season were a draw to us, and then you had the Club World Cup. So you've actually got less games this December.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a point. I'm just going to just agree with what Jurgen Klopp says because what else would I do? And, no preseason. We need more subs. And, yeah, that's it.
There is an agreement with there. I do think personally, I do think it was silly not to keep the five subs thing when it's still in the Champions League or in the Europa League. Like,
Yeah.
why not just for once? Why can't the Premier League just agree with what everyone else is doing and just go, yeah, just have five subs? Like, the argument was it's an advantage to the sides with better squads, but if the side has a better squad, they've got an advantage to begin with because their
Yeah.
squad's better.
And, it's Klopp said himself that in the Brighton game, if he had the five subs, he wasn't going to be bringing on attacking players to go and win the game. He'd take off Andy Robertson just to give him a rest. But because he's only got the three subs, he needs them to be impacts. Whereas having the five gives you extra protection over your players.
I think from that point of view, like he's going a little bit strange there because what he's on about there is he wasn't on about protecting the players, which has been his entire point during these rants. What he was there was saying, "Oh well, tactically, I could have done this." It's like, even yeah, you could always do that if you always had five subs. Like,
That's
you,
true. And then in the Champions League, he doesn't use the five subs, so it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
yeah, it's strange. McClopp, it is kind of true. This is every December that these kind of rants just appear from him.
Yeah, and obviously, I think Pep has said it before. Ollie has said it as well. But Klopp seems to think the louder I am, the more people are going to listen to me. Apparently not. So
He is a very loud German man, but he is still as negative as we are. Even as a United fan, as all the Twitter comments would start with, he is still such a wonderful manager.
I hope so. I hope so. And just
You
a
hope
beautiful man in general.
He just turns out to be an absolute asshole.
Well,
But you've got who have you got this weekend? It's just completely disappeared from my head.
we have got the lovely Wanderers of Wolverhampton.
Oof.
And, well,
Wolverhampton, who
I'm,
so convincingly beat Arsenal last weekend, even though it was only 2-1. It
yeah,
was as one-sided a 2-1 as you can get.
yeah. I always think Wolves. I don't want to call them Wolverhampton. Wolves are, I think, a very good team. They always seem to give the bigger teams, problems. But it did some digging, and in our last 8 games with Wolves, we've won 7 and lost 1, and that loss was under Roy Hodgson, so it doesn't really count.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me because I feel like Wolves play into your hands a little bit, but with no like Andy Roberts. No, is Andy Robertson playing this weekend? He must be.
Yeah, he should be. I hope so.
Yeah, you got Andy Robertson, but then the rest of your defense, if Nuno is going to unleash Adama Traore.
Oh God, imagine Adama Traore versus Nico Williams. Imagine
Did
that.
you see the video of Rob Holding and Adama Traore?
Ooh, I did. What did he say again?
So for those that haven't seen it, Adama and Rob Holding were going for the same ball. Adama went down and a foul got blown, and Rob Holding, it got picked up on the pitch side mic saying to the referee, he's built like a brick shithouse, and he went down like that. Which is oh so true.
The thought of Rob Holden saying that, he looks like like a 40-year-old plumber, doesn't he?
Rob Holding, and I said it on a podcast. If you do want to hear more football stuff, I was a guest on the Conventional 9 podcast last week.
Ooh.
And I did say Rob Holding is as far away from Premier League standard as a defender gets. I don't like Rob Holding.
No. Neither does Adama Traore, I imagine, at the minute.
Well, Wolves won. He probably loves him. Like, I would love to play against Rob Holding, and I'm shit at football.
But who do you have this weekend, actually?
We are. I was about to say away at Southampton, but that was the weekend just gone. We are away at West Ham.
Ooh, is David Moyes, has he got the Skype linked up, or?
Oh, I don't know. I doubt he
hope
can
not.
use it. But yeah, this is going to be a tough game. We have an outstanding away record at the minute. We've just set a new club record of 8 league away wins in a row.
That is mental.
Which, yeah, is really good. We are twice the side on the road that we are at home. I can only see this going one way, which is West Ham will win 3-0. No, no. I think after what happened against PSG, even though it was PSG and losing to them is absolutely no disgrace to any side.
Yeah.
I think we're going to put in a convincing performance. I believe in us.
You should think so, yeah. Especially after that Southampton game. It was 2-0 at half time. I was messaging you thinking, brilliant. But it didn't finish that way. Cavani, what happened?
Cavani came on at half time. Ollie made a substitution at half time, something he probably should have done the other day. And with hindsight. And Cavani came on, set up one for Bruno, scored the other two, 3-2 win. And an interesting fact for you: have you done some digging and found the fact?
Ooh, well,
about
I don't know.
A certain Southampton defender.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Bednarak, I think that's how you say his name.
I don't think I know.
Southampton defender has scored 3 goals in the Premier League for Southampton. All 3, Southampton have been 2-0 up at half time and then lost 3-2.
That's a very weird stat.
That is a weird stat. All 3 of his goals.
I don't know where to take that. That's amazing.
Stop scoring.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God. If it's the first half, just stop.
But yeah, I mean, I've been, one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, biggest fans all season. But he made the sub at half time and he went on to win 3-2. Was it, genius tactical?
I think I wouldn't call it genius tactical. I think bringing Cavani on at half time when he's on your bench, you don't need to be a genius if you're losing 2-0 to do that. But it's more the fact that Cavani is actually a proper number 9. And that's something that we don't really have. Like, Igalo looked decent in the second half of last season at times when he during his hold up play in particular, but like Cavani just gives you a different dimension. And obviously, I don't need to tell you or anyone listening the class that the guy has. His whole career will paint that picture for you.
Yeah.
So just having an actual focus point, and I think I think it's still fair to say Cavani is probably world class. I know he's getting on a little bit, but he has been world class for the majority of his career. It just gave us a different angle. And when you got, I love Rashford. I think he's a fantastic player, but he's not a number nine. Martial isn't really a number nine. They're both kind of forward wingers. Greenwood will probably end up being a number nine, but he's still so young,
Yeah.
and he's having a bit of a rough time this season for various reasons. And so,
Allegedly.
well, there's that, and there's what happened with his friend as well. And I think he's just gone a little bit off the boil. So, but it's just having that actual focus point. And Bruno and Cavani linked up so well together. They didn't during the week at PSG so much.
Yeah.
But that's Southampton and PSG. No disrespect to Southampton, but it's a very different kettle of fish, isn't it?
I just think with the front three of Martial, Cavani, and Rashford, with Bruno Fernandes on the pitch, you should be banging in goals.
We should, and that's what happened if we get into the PSG game just briefly. Obviously, you guys won 1-0 against Ajax.
Yep.
Yeah, 1-0 against Ajax, and a boring game probably.
It started off strangely. It started off very lively, and it seemed like a really open game. But as it kind of dragged on, it kind of was a bit, And in the end, it was a mistake from their keeper, not ours for a change. But it was good, yeah.
Yeah, Ajax, perhaps not the side that they were in that Champions League semi-final run a couple of seasons ago. Now they don't have De Jong, De Ligt. They don't have Ziyech.
Yeah.
Either they don't have Van der Beek.
Yeah, but for me, going into the game, the biggest talking point was there was rumours going around that Alisson wouldn't be playing. But it wasn't until I saw, actually, this could be fun or it could be a waste of time. What's the first name of Liverpool's goalkeeper, Kelleher, Nathan?
Is it Darragh?
No. Oh, do you actually not know it?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. It's a tough one to pronounce for English speakers, apparently. Caoimhín Kelleher. But,
dear.
he was starting, and I wasn't overly impressed at the time because he's played in the past, and I always remember, not the 5-0 against Aston Villa. That I can understand. It was a very weak team. But we drew 5-5 with Arsenal at Anfield earlier in the competition last season, and I felt he was at fault for a few of the goals. And, he hasn't played a lot lately. And he comes into this game, pretty big game. And to be fair, he absolutely smashed it. He made a couple of good saves, but for me, it was more his distribution looked better, obviously much better than Adrian. He did this thing where instead of, holding on to the ball for as long as possible before someone like tackles you, he just got rid of it quickly. It was amazing. Nico Williams and Curtis Jones linking up to get the goal. And again, Nico Williams, I haven't been too kind to him. I'm not sure if if I said it on the podcast, but I haven't been overly impressed. But again, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Definitely shades of his first few games when he came into the team last season. Just looks a proper right back.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen of Nico Williams, I've always quite liked him, but there's obviously a reason that he doesn't get much game time a lot of the time. Part of that reason is called Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah.
But he never seemed to get much of an opportunity. Do you think he's going to have to leave Liverpool to get first team football because he's approaching that age where he's got to be really starting to play regularly?
Well, wait now, how old is he? Let me double check. Well, double check, I mean, in my head. Okay, he's younger than me, which is never a good sign. I think he's 19 or he's around that 19 sort of age range.
Yeah.
But I think
Trent Alexander-Arnold is what, 21, 22?
22, October 98.
So it's not even like he's going to have to wait like 8 years.
I'd like to see him stay as backup. I think he'd be happy enough as a backup option. I don't think I think he'd be much happier playing for Liverpool than going on loan to like a championship team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think at some point over the next couple of years, and this is always the thing with younger players coming through, at some point in the next couple of years, if they're not playing regularly or really anywhere near the first team, like as in starting league games every week, you got to wonder, well, when are they going to request to leave?
Yeah,
Because
obviously. So there's been chat for ages about Trent pushing into midfield in the future, but I don't really see why he'd do that when he's already playing so amazing at fullback. Do you know what I mean?
I remember when a few years before Philip Lahm hung up his boots at Bayern, there was always talk of him moving into midfield when he was like the best right back in
Yeah,
Europe for a long time. And I think because Trent Alexander-Arnold's passing is so ridiculous and his crossing is so great, there's always going to be that thing of, well, let's get him distributing balls from midfield. But he's such a good right back.
yeah,
Have you got a right back then good enough, or are you moving him and weakening your one of your flanks?
definitely. Yeah, I remember one of the stupidest things I've ever heard was at the time when we signed Fabinho. Fabinho had been defensive midfielder for Monaco, but he had started his career at right back. And I remember there was talk of Trent replacing Fabinho and then swapping roles. How stupid would that have been?
It's just yeah, you would have been
Yeah,
struggling. I don't
so
think that would
stupid.
have lasted until half time of one
But anyway,
match.
yeah. Trent at fullback just makes sense. He's got the pace to get up and down. Um, you know, Crossing, he gets, he'll get you like what 15 assists a season. I don't know why you take that out and suddenly put it in, you know, a holding midfield for like pass distribution.
Yeah, and that's kind of the role of some of your defensive midfielders that you've already got. So who are you dropping to then put Trent there as well? Like it's not just about getting a replacement in; it's also, well, who's missing out at this point? You really going to take Thiago if he ever gets fit
Nah,
out the side? No, what are you
I'm
going to
I'm
do?
convinced he doesn't exist, Nathan. I haven't seen him. I've put up the missing person posters around the estate. If you've seen him, give us a call. We're all worried.
You're going to find out that Liverpool actually just sent their money to some email scammer who was like, "We've got Thiago, you can have him for this much."
Honestly, I'm convinced. I saw a picture today. This is just horrible. Obviously, Van Dijk got injured and he was supposed to be out for the entire season. I saw a picture of him in the gym today. I haven't seen any pictures of Thiago in the gym. What does that say?
That he's not real.
It is ridiculous. But yeah, speaking of Trent, he's back in full training according to Jurgen Klopp, which is always good. And speaking of players, I'm not convinced to exist. Naby Keita also back in training. Naby Keita is. I have never known a man more like injured in my life, if that makes sense. And I've watched Daniel Sturridge play for Liverpool. He'll come in, he'll play like 3 or 4 games, he'll get dropped. Then everyone will be like, "Oh, he's been doing really good in training lately." He'll come into the team, he'll have 1 or 2 good games, then he'll get injured again, and he's out for another like 6 weeks. And
Um,
I do.
I remember during pre-season there was something where it's like interviews with Klopp and some of your first team staff, and they were talking about how Naby Keita and Minamino they've been linking up so well during pre-season. We can't wait to see what they do in the season. And now it's like December, you're like, it was fuck all. So we're gonna do with the season.
Well, Nathan, they played really good in a friendly against Blackpool, and forget the Premier League. That's where I would put my money into. But another thing about the game at the weekend is actually that fans are returning to the stadiums, Nathan.
They are. They're not going to be in Manchester because the mayor of Manchester dared question Boris Johnson, but
Ooh.
but they will. So we will continue to get punished. But I do have a point on Manchester United Stadium in a second. But I think it's first off, it's absolutely what football needs is the fans back. So many of the coaches, including recently Pep Guardiola, was talking about how no fans there makes it really hard for him to like personally to get fully motivated on game day because you don't have that roar
Yeah.
behind you. And that I can fully believe. Like it must be so weird going from having 50, 60,000 people, so it's Manchester City, 12,000, so 1.2 thousand fans screaming at you about how you're a fraud. like to suddenly having no one. It must be really
with
difficult.
those plastic baby blue flags, the
Yeah,
most
maybe Man City
intimidating
was
of
a
all
bad
colors.
example.
But
But
yeah, the fans backing they're back in Liverpool. I can't remember all the places now, but it's London, isn't it?
yeah, we will be. There will be fans there for our game at the Olympic Stadium,
Brilliant.
uh, which is a really nice stadium, even
But
though
it's all home
everyone hates
fans,
it.
isn't it?
I think so. To be honest, I don't know fully the regulations. I know they were there at time of recording. We're recording this on a Friday, so yesterday they were there at the Emirates to watch Arsenal against Rapid Vienna,
Oh, what a exciting
which
game of
I'm
football,
sure
eh?
normally you wouldn't get many fans to that, but I'm sure when they got told they could go, they were all absolutely buzzing. It must have been amazing, even though I think it was only 2,000 were allowed in.
Yeah, that's the number, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all that would have turned up anyway. So,
That's true.
to a Europa
That's a
League game
push.
against Rapid Vienna.
Oh,
Oh, those were the days of last season.
oh, God! Remember crowds? Remember that was a thing of the past.
I know, but just quickly on Manchester United Stadium, Old Trafford, they are installing for next season a load of guardrails in some sections because they're going to be allowed to trial safe standing.
Oh, really? I did not hear about this.
Yeah, I can't remember the number off the top of my head how many it was, but they're going to be putting it in. Like United have been doing quite a lot of work to Old Trafford recently. So, but yeah, safe standing could be interesting.
That could be good. That could be good. Obviously, it's been a very long time since safe standing has been a thing in football, and there's been talks about it going on for years. And I'd like to see it definitely trialed in the modern age.
Well, it works all over the place. Like the yellow wall springs to mind immediately
Yeah.
at Dortmund, and God, they're crap, aren't they, Dortmund? They're having a nightmare. They're another side that are injury ridden, but they lost to a side that I think hadn't won a game at the weekend.
In their history.
Not in their history, just this season.
Wow.
I don't know. It was something like that, but they're having a nightmare. And I think Haaland's out. But yeah, safe standing is definitely the way to go because there's always talks about how at the big clubs, at the Uniteds, at the Liverpools, the atmosphere is sometimes not great because you get a lot of tourists and you get a lot to quote Mr. Roy Keane, you get the prawn sandwich brigade. And so getting some standing in there and some cheaper tickets, so you can get those more hardcore fans that don't have the money for Premier League football all the time. It's
Yeah.
got to be the way to go, hasn't it?
The from what I've heard with the Liverpool fans, how they're sorting out, the plans for that is it's going into a raffle, and you have to be a local. You have to have an L postcode, which is down near the stadium. So I'm hoping that will lead to well, obviously not an amazing atmosphere because there's only so many of them, but I think it should be very good.
Yeah, I think it's got to be the way to go to make this more affordable just for people that don't have the money for all the corporate boxes or dad doesn't work for the sponsor or something like that. Like there's
Yeah.
too much of it. I'll read you a thing that Henry Winter, who's for those who don't know, is a football journalist here in the UK. And let me just find it. He was on about this is for Chelsea's match against Leeds, and it reads word for word the tweet. For ballot for Leeds game, Club Chelsea members offered premium plated package, luxury seat in West Stand middle tier, glass of champagne on arrival, pre-match three-course fine dining, complimentary bar including beer, wine, house spirits, soft drinks, team sheet and program. How much would you pay for that, Dara?
Okay. Well, I
Actually,
wouldn't want that
that's the wrong yeah, that's the
at
wrong way
all.
to word the question.
Can I
How
say
much
that?
do you think that is being advertised for
Okay. Well,
one game?
sorry. Did you say this was a corporate box or this was hospitality?
This is hospitality. It's the ballot
Okay.
for the Leeds game, and it's Club Chelsea members being offered premium plated package.
Well, it's gonna be a ludicrous amount, isn't it? It's gonna be like I'm gonna say like five k.
5K. Wow, you've made me sound like an idiot now.
No, okay,
No, it's
sorry.
way less than that. It is for one ticket, 470 quid.
Okay, okay. I yeah. hospitality always seems like just a horrible thing to go through, doesn't it?
Well, this is the first weekend back where they're allowed
Yeah,
fans, and the
yeah.
posh pricks at Chelsea are just putting on champagne free course dinners. That's what football's about, isn't it?
Sorry, did you say these were for just like regular fans, or did you say some like?
You have to be a member of Club Chelsea.
I have no idea what that means. That sounded like very like uppity to me.
Well, Chelsea are very uppity. They got
That
all that Russian money.
there you go.
Oh, but yeah, I think the beginning of this conversation was me about to talk about PSG game.
Yeah.
We'll
Anyway.
touch on it. Fred should have been sent off. He then
Oh
did get
yeah.
sent off, but in a separate incident that probably wasn't a yellow card, which is weird. You got a yellow card for the red card, and then another yellow card for something that probably wasn't a yellow card. But
I I just can't believe that the referee has seen, well, I say headbutt. It's not really a headbutt, is it? He's like leant in, but
he like
you
jabbed his
can't do
head
that.
towards, was it Verratti, I think?
Oh,
Well, I can't
maybe.
remember who it
I
was
don't
now,
even
but
do I.
it was someone. And yeah, Fred is off the ball, just like lent his head in, which you can't do.
Yeah,
It looks very soft. It looks like idiots outside of a bar, maybe about to scrap, and one of them just like goes "Ugh," with their head, like leans it forward. But you can't do that in football. That's a red card. And I could not believe when the ref went over to the monitor and then came back and got a yellow card. The commentators were like, "He's got a yellow out." Like they
I know.
thought it was a mistake.
He's walked over to the monitor and he's been there. He's there for about half a second. He doesn't even like seem to look at it whatsoever.
No, he doesn't.
And I cannot believe that he's given a yellow card for that.
But from that point onwards, uh, United, PSG were playing very well. Obviously, they got Mbappe and Neymar up front. They got Verratti ticking things along nicely. Defensively, they did look a bit shoddy,
Yeah.
which played out for the rest of the match. They got a goal early on through a bit of fortune, really. Mbappe took a shot. It deflected off of Lindelof and it fell to the exact wrong person, which was Neymar. And from a United point of view, it fell to the absolute right person for PSG. But who then, with a decent volley into the goal,
Yeah.
we kind of got more and more into it, and then we got a very lucky goal as well. Through obviously it's PSG, so it's Rashford, and
Yeah.
but at half time, I was saying to people, well, and I know I'm not a football manager, and I know that Ollie very much trusts McTominay and Fred, and that has played out well more than it has not. I will also concede that, but I was baffled Fred didn't come off because he was boiling over for the entire match.
Yeah. He just every time he got near anyone, he just looked like he was gonna just nut them. Do you know what I mean?
He was in a mood.
Yeah.
He was in a proper mood, and I I wasn't shocked that it was McTominay and Fred that started. But I really did expect Van der Beek to start alongside McTominay.
Yeah. Or even you talk about Fred being dirty. Did you see McTominay's? Again, I'm not going to call it a stamp, but planted his foot with force on poor Neymar.
Yeah, and then Neymar grabbed him by the balls.
Okay, I don't
So,
remember that.
have you not seen the pictures?
No, did that happen?
McTominay put it up. It's like McTominay running. Neymar has obviously gone down, and because that's the other thing that he does
There's a
apart from
surprise.
score goals. Yeah, but he's got his hands up and he's like grabbing McTominay by the bits.
No, I did not see that.
But one of my favourite things in football is for some reason United end up playing PSG quite a lot recently. McTominay and Neymar just have this bitter rivalry going. They really fucking hate each other,
And I
and
mean, yeah. When it
they were
comes
getting
to
each other's faces during this match and everything.
yeah, PSG are one of those teams where I always think, oh yeah, PSG are a good team. I really like PSG, but then you watch them play and you're like, what is
They're
this?
not good to watch
They're
at
not at
all.
all, are they?
No, they are incredibly. They've got Neymar and people like that in the side who are wonderful footballers, but they do have that very much South American football tendency of just being dirty as hell. Like they
Yeah,
will dive, they will drop the moment you touch them. And I'm not taking away from their footballing ability when I say that. They've got some wonderful players in the side as well. Um, well, they got three wonderful players. Well, yeah.
And one of them plays for you.
Verratti, Mbappe, and Neymar, and the rest are kind of all right.
Yeah. I think Mbappe could be the fastest land animal ever. Put him up against the Chiefs, and I'd like to see what happens.
Him and Alphonso Davies
Telling you. He
are
got
just
the
ridiculous.
who did he get the? He got the run on. I don't even remember who it was, but he got the run on someone, and it was the chance where he should have laid it off to Neymar, but he goes for the shot instead, and he just the pace of how he just skins people is ridiculous.
Let's talk about his fellow countryman who played for us, which is Anthony Martial, who possibly should have had a hat trick.
Yeah,
We were just talking about PSG. Kind of, we went down to 10 men, but the chances we had were like, and Ollie even said it himself afterwards. We said we should have had. He was probably exaggerating a bit when he said we should have had 6 or 7, but we should have had at least 3 goals easily, and one of them or 2 of them was Anthony Martial, who I said it earlier is an out and out striker. Like, I'm not even sure he was a footballer at times during this match. It's just strange.
he's got to score them, hasn't he? The second one, maybe the block on it is maybe a good block, but he should be smashing that into the net.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, you cannot, against most clubs in the Champions League, even in the group stage, you can't be missing chances like that. We had it against, and I mean this with, again, respect to Martin Skrtel, a much lesser side in Besiktas. And the first time we played them, we had more chances than anyone in the history of the planet.
Yeah.
And you don't take them, and we end up getting done. Like,
Yeah.
and it just brings back more to the point of why Cavani has very quickly become very essential.
Yeah. And just even the chance that Cavani had, the dink over the keeper and it hits the crossbar. Imagine if that had went in.
Yeah, or after we'd gone down to 10 men, Paul Pogba had come on and he had a couple of good shots.
That shot, yeah. Oh my God.
They're skewed wide, and you're there and you're like, well, we've had the better chances throughout.
Yeah.
And when we were down to 10 men, there was a good 5, 6, 7 minutes maybe where it looked like we were going to get something from the game, if not more. Yeah. And then we miss all of our chances. So what happens when you're playing against Neymar or an Mbappe? They go up the other end and they don't need 2 invitations or 3 invitations or 10 invitations or a phone call to ask where the fuck you are and if you're coming. Like, it's just. Oh.
So you took the defeat well, and that's the main thing.
I did take the defeat. Look, as I said, there's no disgrace losing to PSG. Like, that's not the issue here. It's just some of the. I'm more annoyed by the chances that were missed than I am about Fred being sent off.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're still top of the group, aren't you?
We're still top of the group. We need a draw. We're going to Germany to play Leipzig next week. We need a draw to go through or a win. Like, we just can't lose. If we lose, then it goes down to how Besiktas, if Besiktas can beat PSG.
Martin Skrtel hat-trick, calling it now.
Oh my God. But yeah, it's going to be weird if we go out to have beaten PSG, beaten Leipzig, and still have gone out of a Champions League group.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? Yeah,
those are the groups of death mentality for you. And what's going to happen if we do go out? It won't be the PSG game people look at. It'll look at the awful performance against Besiktas.
The Dembaba running through on goal. I can relate. I think we've been over this before, but it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. Dembaba running at you. Plus, Nathan, one thing I wanted to touch on just quickly before you revolutionize, English football, like you said. Yes. Today is the 4th of December, and FIFA 21 released on the PS5. Nathan, are you bothered?
I mean, I've got FIFA 21 on Xbox One. It's fine. But I honestly can't say that I'm bothered as such. It's not changed my Friday, you telling me this.
Yeah, it's, personally, I haven't bought a FIFA since FIFA 18 because I'm just not bothered anymore. Do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't be. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla instead.
There you go. And, PS5, one thing actually I want to get for the record straight, right? Rockstar, if you're listening, how is Grand Theft Auto been on? Is it three generations of game consoles now?
Yep.
PlayStation 3, 4, and 5. That's ridiculous. That should never have been allowed. Anyway, we'll get back to
When
FIFA.
the PlayStation 2 had 3 GTAs on it.
Yes. Wait, now can I name them? GTA 4, San Andreas, and Vice City.
Vice City, yeah, and there
Oh,
you go.
yeah.
It also had GTA 3 as well,
Yeah,
or
and it had
GTA 2, one of them.
they had was it like the episodes of Liberty City or whatever that was called?
Oh yeah, and Vice City Stories had loads of them, but yeah,
Yeah.
Skyrim as well coming to PlayStation 5.
Exciting. It's not the type of podcast, though, Nathan. I was wondering, what was your first FIFA? Because obviously, you're a few years my senior, just a few.
FIFA World Cup 1998.
Ooh. I get knocked down
PlayStation
and I get
1.
up again.
Yeah.
The intro, yeah. I was actually thinking, my favorite things about the FIFA games, and it used to be the intros to games like that. I had that. The FIFA World Cup 98, whatever you said, and just normal FIFA 98. But then the intros for like FIFA 99, Funk's Old Brother, 2002, Gorillas,
Oh.
incredible. And what would you say what's your favorite FIFA of all time?
Oh, I'm probably gonna get the name wrong. No, not the name wrong, sorry, the year wrong.
Okay.
But for the cover, it was one of the ones with Rooney on the cover, and it was like the mid 2000s, late 2000s. I think it was Rooney and Ronaldinho.
They were on the cover for I think 3 years in a row, something like that.
Oh, something like that. But
So
that was some ridiculous. One of my favorite FIFA memories was probably like 2002 or 2003, whichever one had Miss Dynamite on the soundtrack.
okay, well
It was
that's a
Miss
name I'm
Dynamite, tee like on the soundtrack, and it was the best FIFA. I think Edgar Davids was on the cover, maybe. And oh,
um yeah, he's on the cover of one of them, all right. I've no idea who Miss Dynamite is. All idea.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's outstanding.
Fair play to her. Hope she's doing well. I know she's a huge fan of the show. For me, I'd say FIFA 06. FIFA 06 is the perfect FIFA. It was everything that was right about football games at the time. It had a good career mode. It had really good extra features where it used to have the season highlights of the top five leagues, and just different like features you could do. Everything about FIFA 6 was amazing except for the gameplay. But it doesn't even matter when a game is that good. I can play it over and over again. Do you know what I mean?
There was one of them where you could probably do this with all the players, but obviously I'm a United fan, where if you had a left-footed player who could cross well, swing them onto the right, and then cut back, cross it into the box from like the corner of the penalty box, like in line with the corner of the penalty box, but obviously back a little bit. 99% of the chance the cross would end up swinging into the top corner. And it was like the easiest hack in the world. So obviously being a United fan, Ferdinand to Scholes, Scholes out to Giggs cuts back, swings it in 1-0. And it would just be me, like young me, just doing that again and again, just being like, this is so easy.
Yeah, were you growing up? Were you more of a PES or a FIFA guy?
I'm a FIFA guy. I'm also a career mode guy. So
Yes.
before anyone starts banging on and being like Ultimate Team, I don't play Ultimate Team.
Thank
I've
you, mate.
never played Ultimate Team, and I don't play online. I like career mode. I like having my little career mode going on that I'll have for the entire year, which is just playing a few games here and there, and treating it seriously, building my team. And then I'll have like career modes where it's like challenges with me and a few friends, where it might be like, oh, you players just putting us out thin air. Everyone has to play as a division like 3 side. You can only sign players in the first season, and it's the first person to win the Premier League or something like that. And yeah, but I don't play online.
I wish I had friends so I could have tried that out. Yeah. Do you ever play? This is a random one. Do you ever play This Is Football?
I didn't, but I did play the David Beckham soccer one on like PS1. It was terrible.
It's if anyone has ever played This Is Football 2002, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's not a niche reference at all, but there was a mode in it called Jumpers for Goalposts, where the goals were literally jumpers for goalposts. And, if that wasn't worth my money alone, what was?
Well, it was called David Beckham's Soccer. There you go. Released in 2001. I remember playing that and it was terrible.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't sound the most exciting.
No, not at all. But yeah, before we ride off into the podcasting sunset this year, I want to change the way football is played. That's too far. I want to change the structure of the league a little bit because there's too many things in the league that happen every single year, and it's not just Klopp moaning. There's certain things that I just think need to be done away with. So I'm going to throw some revolutionary tactics to make the Premier League even better and more competitive. That's the key point I'm looking for here. So I'm going to stay with the 3 points for a win, but I am going to get rid of draws.
Okay.
There's no more drawing. Drawing is bullshit. That's for cricket.
Sorry for any artists listening out there who were offended by that comment. What's your solution for no draws?
Right, so the 90 minutes is up. I'm not doing extra time because there's too much football played anyway.
Right.
But it just goes straight to penalties, but not best of 5, it's best of 3.
Imagine a sudden death, man, just a sudden death, straight to the death.
I considered sudden death, but I thought that might is that over a little bit too quickly? Do we want to see at least 3 penalties? Right, I think so, yeah. I think we do. So I'm going to go for best of 3.
You're talking about going straight to penalties. Did you know that I think it's Steaua Bucharest. Was it Steaua Bucharest who bet Barcelona in the European Cup final, or was it Red Star Belgrade?
I think it was Red Star, but I might be wrong about that.
Okay, well, whichever one it was, in their league that season, obviously they won on penalties 3-0. The keeper saved all 3 of them. There was no draws. In their domestic league, it did go straight to penalties. So they had been practicing penalties all season.
Yeah, but I think drawing just needs to be gone. Enough of that, like nonsense from there. So now, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to steal this a little bit from Project Big Picture, but I'm going to adapt it a little bit. I think the League Cup needs to go.
Yeah.
That was my first instinct, but I've decided to change that a little bit because I thought, am I taking away all the competitions? We're keeping the League Cup, but if you're in Europe, you don't play in it. Okay. And I'm not talking about, you can enter an under-23 side or you can enter your under-10s or whatever that is to fill a spot. No, your space then goes to a non-league side.
Okay.
So we get some people from the National League actually make up those 6 European spots.
Which 6 do you pick, though?
Yeah, that's up to them.
Well, I've actually had a theory that I wanted to see implemented for, I wanted the League Cup gone with, to be honest, when I heard it, because I hate how it's a midweek, under the floodlights game. It's just a poor man's European competition, really. But the FA Cup, something they could do to revamp it would be, I don't know how this will work, but if they got all the teams from Great Britain together and they did the FA Cup that way, so anyone can play anyone.
Cool.
Could you imagine Celtic, Man United in the FA Cup final?
Oh, that would be pretty mad.
That'd be class, wouldn't it?
Now, I have a overriding slight issue with the way the Champions League is formatted. I don't like the way the Champions League is formatted. A lot of it comes down to the name, which I'm willing to admit, because a lot of the sides in there are not champions of any league. So
you've got a point.
Yeah, so but I'm going to put that Champions League, and I have revamped the Champions League before on a different podcast quite a while ago. Maybe I'll revisit that and introduce my ideas to Darragh at some point. But I think there just needs to be another person that's won something. So I'm getting rid of 4th place for Champions League.
Okay.
And I'm actually giving it to the FA Cup winner.
Okay, that I could agree
now,
with.
A lot of you have just gone, well, someone in the top 4 always wins the Champions League. Not Champions League, the FA Cup. Which you are correct on that. Someone who usually finishes the Champions League space does win it. So if that happens, and it will happen all the time, you get 4th to play 5th in a playoff at a neutral stadium. Doesn't have to be Wembley. That's the obvious choice, but it doesn't have to be. Like, and you just do it like that way.
Nathan, I'm loving this. I love the sound of that. I think that is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Relegation, no more just the bottom four going down. I think we need to have a relegation group in some way so we get some more group games going on for fun, just for funsies, so that if you're
What?
bottom all season, you still have a chance of survival.
Right. Elaborate
So,
on that.
well, say you're bottom of the league. So let's take 20th, 19th, 18th, and 17th. They're obviously the bottom four of the
Yeah.
Premier League. So then they would go into like some kind of like their own mini league where they all play each other home and away, and those points get tallied up as well.
Right.
So they have to play each other again. So that then what that does mean, if it ends up the 17th as more points than say 16th at that point, that doesn't matter because they finished in those relegation points after the places
Okay,
after
yeah.
38 games. So then it's just up to you trying to survive yourself, and whoever finishes top of that mini league stays up.
Right. I the thing I've always liked is in the Bundesliga, the way they do the playoff relegation game between is a third bottom in the top division and third place in the second division, where they play each other in a one-off game.
Yeah, you obviously then have to have like a conversation with the championship because one less person from the championship is going to be coming up.
Yeah.
But I think this swapping 4-4 thing every season is it's a little bit too much, really. Like, and I just think it's a bit of a dead format. Like, only game that anyone cares about is the playoff final
That's a good point.
in the
Yeah.
championship. So we need to have some more playoffs. So I want to do a similar thing with the Europa League places as well. I don't think you should be rewarded for finishing like sixth in a league with a European place. You've then got to earn it. So one Europa League place goes to the League Cup winner
Yeah.
immediately.
Okay.
So there's one left up for grabs in the league, and that goes. Obviously, fourth isn't a Champions League spot, so fourth has to play fifth in a one-off game as well, and the winner gets the Europa League spot.
You've just blown my mind, Nathan.
I think it's more fun like that way, like because who wants to finishing sixth? No one cares until you get to the end of the season. You're like, oh, we can still finish sixth and be in the Europa League. No, we're not rewarding mediocrity like that.
Yeah, we're not Arsenal fans. We're not going to reward mediocrity. But
Or the other idea I had was, but then I realised that it's just going to probably go to whoever wins the league. But I was thinking of like whoever scores the most goals gets something as well. But I realised that's probably just going to be Liverpool or Man City every season.
yeah, that'll get a bit tiring. Yeah.
So was that fair play thing of whoever got the least yellow cards for a bit?
Yeah, they used to qualify for Europa, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, maybe we could bring that back in some way.
God, could you imagine that? But then that'd be like the thing I've never understood is the team. I just think of Birmingham City immediately. Do you remember the season they won the Carling Cup? So they qualified for Europa League football, but they also
Yeah.
got relegated in the same season.
The other idea I've toyed with, and this is going to really annoy Kloppy, is condensing the fixtures in such a way that a certain amount are played in a month, and then there's a month off, and then the next round of fixtures are played in the next month, and then there's a month off again.
Well, when you say condensed, how condensed?
I
are we
didn't
talking?
do the maths,
Right.
to be honest with you, but I was thinking like in September, say across the 4 weeks in September, uh, everyone played 3 games a week,
Genie Mac.
league games, and then there's a month off,
Right.
and then there's the next round of games.
Well, then what do you do with the Champions League and the cup competition?
Well, yeah, that's the issue that I came across immediately in this. You're going to have to do something with that because Europe's just like ruining everything.
Yeah.
I think really out of everything I've said, the no draws is the only good idea.
I'd like to see. We don't really draw many games. I don't think, do we? Liverpool, I'm talking about. But I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think you do because like, should anyone be rewarded when 90 minutes ends in a draw? Should you really get a point?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Well, I think the draw format works because a win is 3 points. When a win used to be 2 points and a draw was 1 point, that didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like really, there has to be a way to kind of change the point system a little bit to make it more interesting. I think what we've heard, we end up with too many like runaway winners and runaway losers. And I want to
Yeah,
kind of keep everything as tight knit as I can for as long as possible. Because then it also creates the prospect of more shocks
yeah,
to happen. Because at the minute, like I'm going to take United as an example because we had a really bad start to the season, and everyone's like, "Oh, United are only 3 points off the drop." Well, then all United have to do is go on a half decent run. You're like, "Well, they're not going to get relegated."
yeah.
Arsenal though might get relegated.
Oh, what is it? They'll have enough to stay up, according to Roy
That
Keane.
was
That's
really
nice.
funny, but I was trying to think of ways to like keep the league really more tight knit and trying to make more things matter.
Okay.
Maybe you get like maybe we bring in the bonus point that like you get in rugby in the Six Nation, where if you score a certain amount of points, you then get a bonus point. So you could make attacking football mean more, but it's like okay, you get an extra point if you score 5 goals.
Yeah, yeah. I get what you mean, but then that would favor the bigger teams, wouldn't it?
Would everyone just attack more though? Imagine like Man City 3 points ahead. They've already played final day of the season, but if you end up level on points with them, you're gonna have to do like a playoff match or something, and you lost to Man City home and away this season, but you're
Uh,
4-0 up. If you can get one more goal, you get an extra point. You're gonna go all guns blazing.
well, you see, that reminds me of when we were in a strangely kind of similar situation to that at Crystal Palace, and it didn't go well for Brendan and the boys that night. Um, so I think we'll leave those dark memories alone. Uh,
Oh well, penalty shootouts, no draws.
there we go. Get that in a t-shirt.
Or maybe your goals that you scored are your points minus the goals you concede. So goal difference is actually points now.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Imagine that. That would be mad.
Oh, that'd be a weird one, wouldn't it?
That would be mental. So many people would just be on like -1 point at the end of the season.
Yeah. That could be interesting. I mean, I'm not saying I want it to come in tomorrow, but I'd like to see I'd like to see someone like calculate that up.
I think that
Make
would
it
be
just look
well, it would be easy. There
gold.
must be a way to like organize it. But I'm gonna at the end of the season, or no, for next week, I'm gonna bring you the top 5 leagues, but done by goal difference instead.
Ooh,
And we can
bit
see
of
if anything changes.
bit of work for you. Nice.
Yeah, it's gonna take me like 5 minutes.
Get onto Google.
Oh. But Dara, you got any closing thoughts?
You know what? I thought we'd mix it up a bit. To close out the show, I'm going to give you a trivia question. You, Nathan, and the listeners, I guess. It's one. I think it's a good one. So, and obviously, well, you could just Google this during the week, but I'm hoping you don't. That way. It'll be more fun. Nathan, I want you to tell me the only player to play in the World Cup, the Champions League, the UEFA Cup, the Intertoto Cup, all 4 divisions of English football, and the conference. Have you got that? That's
I've no idea.
you've
But
got
I will have
a
a
week to
think
ponder.
for you. I'll have a week to ponder that. That I will take that week, and you, the listeners, you take that week as well and ponder away, because we're done here. But as always, you can find me at Nathan Greenway. You can find Project Dits, where this lovely podcast is hosted. If you've just stumbled across it, you can find at Project Dits. That's DITS after the project. Check out everything else associated with Project Dits. Also, come over if you want to hear more from me to Rogue Opinions at Rogue_Opinion. You can hear me every single week talking pop culture, movies, and all sorts. So no more football, but if you want to hear me talk about Blade, then that's where you can find me. But Dara, where can the good people find you, and what have you got going on?
Well, at the minute, I'm just in my house, so if you want to come and find me, that's where I am. But of course, no. Twitter Gibbons underscore Darragh, DAR or AGH. Something for you to think about. Pondering, like always.
Ponder away, everyone. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for listening. We'll be back next week with a special guest. Hopefully,
Hopefully.
don't take me at my word. Bye now.
Glug.